insane. Well, we wrote an article showing the New York Times saying what Ron Paul had said. I mean, it was all the experts on, even Mainline wouldn't go along with this. It was totally fake. So, I mean, Ron Paul gets attacked for talking about stuff that's admitted.
We're on the march.
If I have researched something and I know it's the truth, I don't care how destructive it is. I don't care how much I get attacked, how much I get demonized. I've got to tell the truth. Lying for me is incredibly hard to do. I mean, sometimes my wife's wearing something that I don't particularly like, and she'll ask me, do you like this? And I'll tell her, no, I don't like it. And, of course, you learn real early on with girlfriends, then you get married, that they ask what you think, but they usually don't really want to know. So it's like, do you like this? And, of course, if they like it and you tell them no, they'll get irritated. But you know what? If somebody makes me food and they say, did you like it? And I don't, I'm like, you know, I like that other dish you make better. Like my mom asked me on Christmas, she says, do you like that kind of cabbage? She makes this purple cabbage. It's really good. I don't know how to describe it. It's really tasty. And I was like, yeah, this is even better than you usually make it. Sometimes it's a little, you know, you overcook it. It's a little slimy. She kind of gives me this look. I'm like, well, no, this is, you know, she's a great cook. I'm like, no. It was always my favorite before. Now I like the way you did this one even better. The thing is that I've gotten to the point where I just cannot pull punches with people. I mean, that's why I'm honest on air about myself, too. People say, why did you say that about yourself? Because I've found it helps my thinking process if I'm just truthful. Because when you lie to somebody, it's almost like you lie to yourself. And so I think the beginning of turning around our society is that we all start being more honest. And I think we should be honest about lies we've told, even when we don't know we've told them at the time. I mean, I'll hear rebroadcasts sometimes, or I'll see videos I've done where there's a fact in it that is completely wrong. It's not very often. And I think back, like I saw a video the other day from 2 years ago that somebody brought to my attention, and and what I said was not true. And I've spent probably 15 hours the last few weeks in my mind trying to figure out, why did I say that? Because I can't remember why I said it, and it's like a riddle or a conundrum. It's like, why did I say that? Because I'm not being sarcastic. And it's not true. But I guess for people that don't have a conscience, they just think that's fun to lie all day long. Well, a lot of philosophers said, know thyself. You need to know yourself first, then you'll know others. So I've said it. I mean, I am an obnoxious, slovenly person. But that's only one aspect of who I am. And I've got to strive to be a better person. Because if you don't strive to be a better person, well, then who are you? You just give in to being corrupt. You just give in to being stupid. You just give in and have no standard. I mean, if we don't have a Bill of Rights and Constitution, the sky, or I should say the bottomless pit, is the limit. And, of course, something that's bottomless doesn't have a limit. The scope of depravity. I mean, I have this total instinct driving to want to protect little old ladies and children. A lot of people call that goody two-shoes or a softy or pathetic. No, I'm not a softy. I have an instinct to want to have a good society. I have an instinct to want to help people because I'm normal. And in this crazy world, I'm abnormal. In this crazy world, Ron Paul is abnormal because he's a constitutionalist for common sense. What did George Orwell say? In a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Let's go through 5 or 6 more calls, and I'll hit the final news here in the first show of the new year. I think it's been pretty powerful so far. We've gotten a lot of key information out. Folks, I don't want you to be scared of this NDAA. I want you to, from my perspective, use it to wake people up and say, okay, here's the end of Posse Comitatus. We told you that was coming. They say they can arrest you and disappear into a black hole. And if they say, oh, I heard on the news that wasn't true. Oh, here, really, let me take you over to Infowars.com. And we've got articles here with all these links to videos with the senators saying it, that it is for citizens, and saying they'll kill you if they want to or torture you, and saying that Obama wanted it added. Because I've never seen something wake people up like this NDAA. And so when Obama comes out and says, okay, it does affect citizens, I'm going to sign it because I don't want to hold up the military appropriations and pay for the troops. And then it turns out it's on record. The White House lawyers and Obama told Congress, you do this or we're going to veto it. I mean, that is a level of deception that is really waking people up. But again, why did they hide it? Why did they hide it? Why did they first try to claim it wasn't in there so they could pass it? And then now that it's passed, they're trying to say it isn't in there. Because the enemy showing itself, the foreign megabanks, trying to engage in a coup d'etat. That's what this is. The caller from Germany last hour was spot on. Hitler was elected in a power-sharing agreement with Kaiser Wilhelm and himself, because they had a parliament, and he was the second biggest party. And then Hitler used staged terror attacks to get power, and right on time, Kaiser Wilhelm had a stroke, and he just signed the power over to Hitler. Because of the threat of the communist. It was like, go with the fascist or the communist will take over. And the old line elite, threatened by revolution, being funded by the big same mega banks that were funding the fascist. See, they win either way, just like Carol Quigley wrote at Georgetown. The system wins either way. When they fund tyranny, different variants of it. Let me read you a few quotes here. This is Bertrand Russell. From his book, The Impact of Science on Society, 1952. Nobel Prize winner, one of the top theoreticians and philosophers of the eugenics New World Order. If a Black Death could spread throughout the world once in every generation, survivors could procreate freely without making the world too full. There would be nothing in this to offend the conscious or the devout or to restrain the ambition of nationalists. The state of affairs might be somewhat unpleasant, but what if really high-minded people are indifferent to happiness, especially other people's? So he's saying, what if? We need to be high-minded and release bioweapons. Bertrand Russell, here's another quote. Diet, injections, and injunctions will combine from a very early age to produce the sort of character and the sort of beliefs that the authorities consider desirable, and any serious criticism of the powers that be will be psychologically impossible. Even if all the miserable, all will believe themselves happy, because the government will tell them that they are so. War has hereto been disappointing in this respect, but perhaps biological war may be proven effective, because before that in the passage, he's talking about reducing population. Bertrand Russell wanted to, and of course H.G. Wells originally wrote this about 30 years before they invented A-bombs, where atomic bombs are dropped on all the cities to reduce population. The original book was called The Shapes of Things to Come, and the movie that came out in the 30s was called Things to Come, H.G. Wells. Watch it. They have B-2 bomber Batwing aircraft flying around nuking all the cities to get rid of the people. Hey, guys, will you Google H.G. Wells' The Shape of Things to Come when that was published? I forget. I know the movie was in the early 30s. I mean, we've got clips of it in Endgame. I mean, look, they thought this stuff up. And look, they run the world. Listen, this was a commenter I saw in a Russia Today interview I did where I was covering how the government admits they're spying on everybody without warrants. And these, because I went to this guy's site, you know, he was like a little neocon. He thinks war and death, you know, I guess is cool. He says, it makes sense that the U.S. government spies. But then if I was running the world for the best of its actions, I would spy too. Heck, God is always watching. I mean, personally, it just makes sense. If you want to know what's up with people and making sure or trying to cut down on crime, duh, you spy or check in on the peeps once in a while. It's not like you'd like them coming to your door with a survey every 3 months, because it's not like people should have anything to hide, right? The criminals that run the society want to enslave you. It's not that you have something to hide. Every time we get governments that start spying on everybody, horrible oppression always follows. The Shape of Things to Come, a work of science fiction by H.G. Wells, published in 1933. Okay, so I guess the movie and that came out right after it, which speculates on future events from 1933 until the year 2106. The book is dominated by Wells' belief in a world state as a solution to mankind's problems. Oh, but I thought there's no world state. I mean, Ron Paul's crazy. I played the Huntsman interview earlier, the Huntsman ad that has clips from my film Endgame, where Ron Paul says George Bush Sr. called for a new world order, and they're like playing Twilight Zone music. I mean, that's all they call for in any of this stuff. And they're setting it up. Headlines, Goldman Sachs conquers Europe. Now the world government to be run by private banks. I don't want to live under a world government run by private banks. I'd like to have my own country. Shut up, crazy man, it doesn't exist. This is the level of hoax we're dealing with. And the good news is they're losing more and more of their power to hoax people. From the bottom of my heart, I want to speak to the enforcers, the bureaucrats, the people in the system. You know the New World Order, this globalist system, NAFTA, GATT, the open borders, all the taxes, the regulations. Every time you follow what you're told will fix things, things get worse. And it's only going to get worse because this is a post-industrial model. That's what the globalists want. That's what their plans are. That's what they push. That's what's in their international agreements. That's what's under UN law. It is a tiny elite waging war against civilization because they're in a race to shut down civilization for the general public before we get the life extension technologies. They're threatened by technology. They're threatened by education. They're threatened by it. So they replace it with facsimiles. Instead of enlightenment, they give you rote regurgitation. Instead of real private property, they make you debt slaves with property taxes. Everything is a facsimile or a counterfeit. A dry, it's like, you ever seen fake food? They got like fake bread, fake pudding. Restaurants have it to show you what their dishes look like. It may look like pumpkin pie. It may look like cheese enchiladas, but it's not. It's wax. Robert in Texas, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex, great show today. I just want to disagree with the previous caller who said that calling into radio shows isn't a meaningful form of activism. I think right now, leading up to the caucuses, we can all get a lot done if we call into the local shows in Iowa.
That's right. You're the Funk Master 5 guy on YouTube, and you personally